Hello everyone, welcome to my channel Anupma Biology Classes. In this video, our topic is factors affecting photosynthesis. This video is taken from Plant Physiology series CBSE class 11th, part 6 of chapter 14. Now let's see here the lecture overview. So in this video, we will see the concept of limiting factors, factors affecting photosynthesis and significance of photosynthesis. Now let's start the topic. Here our first topic is the concept of limiting factors. Early scientists attempted to determine the minimum, optimum and maximum values of individual factors without realizing the importance of uh, simultaneous effect of other factors upon the rate of photosynthesis. For example, the optimum carbon dioxide concentration was greater at higher light intensity than lower light intensity. Obviously, the light becomes insufficient in the latter case for the utilization of total carbon dioxide. Clearly, it is not possible to study the effect of individual factors, but rather the factors have to be considered in relation to one another. In 1843, Liebig proposed the law of minimum, which states that the rate of process is limited by the pace of the slowest factor. F. Blackman in 1905 extended this law to formulate the presence of limiting factors. This was later on Blackman's law of limiting factor, which in his own words, we can say this: when a process is conditioned as to its rapidity by a number of separate factors, the rate of the process is limited by the pace of slowest factor. Now, I will repeat this once again. When a process is conditioned as to its rapidity by a number of separate factors, the rate of the process is limited by the pace of slowest factor. The principle can be explained by the following example. Now, suppose a leaf is exposed to such light intensity which allows to the leaf to utilize 5 mg of carbon dioxide per hour, and if carbon dioxide is totally absent from the atmosphere, the photosynthesis will not occur. Now, increase in the amount of carbon dioxide in the atmosphere will increase in the rate of photosynthesis. This increase will be proportionate with the increase of carbon dioxide concentration up to 5 mg. This is indicated by, here you can see that by the lines, which is a graphic representation of the Blackman's law of limiting factor. Now here you can see that means low light intensity, medium light intensity, and at high light intensity photosynthetic rate increases. Any further increase in amount of carbon dioxide will not enhance the rate of photosynthesis, and the rate becomes constant along line. That is, here you can see that on the DE. On this slide, the high light intensity it fixes. This is because the light factors has now become the limiting factor. Addition of carbon dioxide when coupled with the increase in light intensity also increases the rate of photosynthesis. The line here, that is C and D indicates B and C indicates linear increase when light intensity has been raised from low to medium. The medium light intensity again becomes limiting at point here, that means on C. And any condition of carbon dioxide will not raise the photosynthetic rate. The rate becomes constant along the line, that means CF. So, further increase in light intensity from medium to high increases the rate of photosynthesis along the line, that is CD. By adding carbon dioxide when the rate attains maximum at D, further increases in carbon dioxide will not raise the photosynthetic rate, which becomes constant along with the line DE. This indicates that some factors again becomes limiting. Besides light and carbon dioxide, other factors like the temperature, water, etc. may also become limiting. Now, if we talk about the criticism of the Blackman's law of limiting factor, so they that means he is criticized by many workers such as Boyson, Jensen, Harder and Hoover. According to them, the rate of photosynthesis declines gradually in the form of curvature and not abruptly as was assumed by the Blackman. When a factor becomes limiting, this could be due to several reasons. The most probable reason seems to be the fact that all the chloroplasts in the leaf are not under same environmental conditions at a given time. Some of the chloroplasts receive more carbon dioxide than the others. Similarly, some of the chloroplasts receive more light than the others. Therefore, if a factor becomes limiting, it will not be uniformly limiting to all the chloroplasts at a given time, and hence the total photosynthetic rate will not end abruptly but it will decline gradually. Moreover, many workers have indicated that the two or more factors may be limiting simultaneously. Thus, the concept of the limiting effect is not absolute but it is relative one. For this reason, many scientists call it relatively limiting factor rather than the limiting factor. So, after this is all about the concept of limiting factor, which is also known as Blackman's law of limiting factor. Now, factors affecting photosynthesis. So, what are the factors which affect the process of photosynthesis? The rate of photosynthetic process is affected by several external and internal factors. So external factors which is known as environmental factors and second is internal. We know that photosynthetic process completes in two steps, light reaction and dark reaction. The light reaction totally depends on the availability of light, water, pigments, etc. And the dark reaction depends on temperature and available carbon dioxide. Thus, all the factors are important in affecting the rate of photosynthesis. For our convenience, the factors influencing the photosynthesis are grouped into two broad categories, which are external factors and internal factors. Now, if we talk about the external factors, this includes light, carbon dioxide, temperature, water, oxygen, and mineral elements. So at first, in case of external factor, first one that is the light intensity or light. The ultimate source of light for photosynthesis is green plants in solar radiation, which moves in the form of electromagnetic waves. Out of the total solar energy reaching to the earth, about 2% of used in photosynthesis and about 10% is used in other metabolic activities. Light varies in intensity, quality, that means wavelength, and duration. The effect of light on photosynthesis can be studied under three categories, in which the first one is light intensity. The total light perceived by a plant depends on its general form, that is height, size of leaves, etc., and arrangement of leaves also. Of the total light falling on a leaf, about 80% is absorbed, 10% is reflected, and 10% is transmitted. Under low light intensity, usually the rate of photosynthesis is low. Increase in light intensity causes increase in the rate of photosynthesis until some other factors become limiting. So, at very high light intensity, beyond a certain point, the photosynthesizing cells exhibit photooxidation of its constituents. The phenomena is called solarization. Here you can see that solarization process. After this, the requirement of light intensity by the plants varies considerably. For example, certain plants require low light intensity for optimum photosynthesis and low shady habitat. These plants are called xeophytes. In this picture you can see the xeophytes, and on the other hand, certain plants love intense light and require high light intensity for the optimum photosynthesis. Such plants are called heliophytes. Moreover, light has some indirect effect on photosynthesis. For example, it affects by regulating the movement, that means opening and closing of stomata. Stomata are closed in low light and opens in the high light intensity. Closed stomata restrict the entry of carbon dioxide and decreases the rate of photosynthesis. Now, if we talk about the light quality, photosynthetic pigments absorb visible part of radiation, that means 380 millimicron to 760 millimicron. For example, chlorophyll absorbs blue and red light. Usually plants show high rate of photosynthesis in the blue and red light. Maximum photosynthesis has been observed in red light than in the blue light. The green light has minimum effect. On the other hand, the red algae shows maximum photosynthesis in the green light and brown algae in the blue light. Now, duration of light. Longer duration of light period favors photosynthesis. Generally, if the plants get 10 to 12 hours light per day, it favors good photosynthesis. And the plants can actively exhibit photosynthesis under continuous light without being damaged. Now, after this, the second external factor, which is the carbon dioxide. So, carbon dioxide present in the atmosphere is about 0.032% by volume, and it is really a low concentration which acts as a limiting factor in nature. If we increase the amount of carbon dioxide under laboratory conditions, and if the light and temperature are not the limiting factors, the rate of photosynthesis increases. This increase is observed up to 1% of the carbon dioxide concentration. At the same time, very high concentration of carbon dioxide becomes toxic to plants and inhibit photosynthesis. Now, in case of temperature, usually the rate of photosynthesis increases by increase in temperature up to 40 degrees centigrade. Above this temperature, there is a decrease in the rate. High temperature results into the deactivation of enzymes, and thus the dark reaction is affected. Temperature requirement for the optimum photosynthesis varies considerably with the plant species. For instance, photosynthesis stops in many plants at 0 degrees centigrade, but in some conifers it occurs even at -35 degrees centigrade. Similarly, photosynthesis stops beyond 40 to 50 degrees centigrade in certain plants, but certain blue-green algae and bacteria which inhabit hot springs can perform photosynthesis at 70 degrees centigrade. So here you can see that if you plot the rate of photosynthesis against the label of these three limiting factors, you get graphs like the ones below. In case of light intensity, in case of carbon dioxide concentration, and in case of temperature. In practice, any one of these factors could limit the rate of photosynthesis. Now, if we talk about the water, water is an essential raw material in photosynthesis. This rarely acts as a limiting factor because less than 1% of the water absorbed by a plant is used in photosynthesis. However, lowering of photosynthesis has been observed if the plants are inadequately supplied with water. After this, oxygen. Oxygen has been shown to inhibit photosynthesis in C3 plants and that exhibit respiration. Oxygen is inhibitory because it favors rapid respiration which utilizes common intermediates. It competes with the carbon dioxide and it destroys the excited state of chlorophyll and thus inhibits the photosynthesis. Next is mineral elements. Certain important mineral elements like Mg, Fe, Cu, Cl, Mn and potassium etc. are the closely associated with the key reaction of the photosynthesis. Therefore, deficiency of these minerals ultimately reduces photosynthesis. Now, what is mineral nutrition important? So in most natural soil, the availability of mineral nutrients limits plant growth and primary productivity. Nutrient limitations is an important selective pressure and plants face many special changes related to the need to acquire and use mineral nutrients efficiently. Plant nutrition especially does not refers to the photosynthesis. Now, after this, some other external factors like certain gases and metabolic pollutants like ozone, SO2 oxidants, hydrogen fluorides, etc., decrease photosynthesis. Some chemical substances such as HCN, H2S, chloroform ether, and others are also known to inhibit photosynthesis. Now, after these internal factors, in internal factors, first one, that is the chlorophyll content. Chlorophyll is an essential internal factor for the photosynthesis. Emerson in 1929 found direct relationship between the chlorophyll content and the rate of photosynthesis. However, Will Statter and Stoll indicated that the chlorotic leaves photosynthesize almost as rapidly as the normal leaves. Now, protoplasmic factors. So, photosynthesis depends not only on the chlorophyll content but also on certain protoplasmic factors. These factors affect the direct reactions. The decline in the rate of photosynthesis at temperature above 30 degrees centigrade or at strong light intensities in many plants suggests the enzymatic nature of this unknown factor. Now, accumulation of the carbohydrates. Accumulation of carbohydrates in plant cells inhibits photosynthetic rate. If these food materials are not translocated, the process of respiration increases. Sugar is converted to starch which accumulates in the chloroplast. This reduces the effective surface in the chloroplast and the rate of photosynthesis is decreased. Now, after this, significance of photosynthesis. So, what are the significance? It helps in the conversion of solar energy into the organic matter, consumes atmospheric carbon dioxide and yields carbohydrates and molecular oxygen, evolves molecular oxygen for the use by other living organisms and maintains the level of atmospheric oxygen which is continuously consumed by plants and animals during respiration, produces carbohydrates and used by plants and animals to synthesize organic acids, proteins, fats, nucleic acids, pigments, hormones, vitamins, alkaloids, and other metabolites. Photosynthesis is a physiological process which serves as a driving and vital force to obtain food and fuel for all non-photosynthetic organisms in universe. Organic, that means carbohydrate obtained by photosynthesis, are basically used to synthesize fats, proteins, nuclear proteins, pigments, enzymes, vitamins, cellulose, organic acids, etc. Carbohydrates synthesized during the dark reaction of the photosynthesis becomes structural parts of the organism. In the process, solar energy is converted into the chemical energy by utilizing simple raw materials like the carbon dioxide and water. The process provides energy in terms of fossil fuels like the coal and petroleum obtained from the plants which lived millions and millions of years ago. Now, importance of photosynthesis: harness the sun's energy into the utilizable forms of the energy on Earth, a process that most biological organisms are unable to perform. ATP is used to power these processes and converts light energy into the chemical energy in the form of glucose. Then, the process of cellular respiration converts energy in glucose to energy in the form of ATP, which is used to power biological process. Why is photosynthesis important to us? We cannot make our own food. That means glucose or energy. We must get our food from plants. Plants are the first step in the food chain, and the animal gets the energy stored in plants when they eat them. So, why is photosynthesis is an important plant process? Because the photosynthesis is the process of making food. Organisms like plants provide food for almost all other living things on Earth. Plants release oxygen into atmosphere. Almost 90% of oxygen is from photosynthesis. So this is the end of video in which we knew about the laws of limiting factors, factors affecting photosynthesis and significance of photosynthesis. The next upcoming video will be on the respiration in plants. So if you understand this video, please like and share it and subscribe to my channel Anupma Biology Classes. If you have any questions, any queries or any suggestions, you can ask in the comment section below. Thank you for the watching.